even though I've read it, I still have quite a lot of questions.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I've answered to a lot, so I'm always happy to answer the questions.
um, I I mean, I think I know a lot of people might. I think a lot of people might know um, who you are. They might have heard you speaking before and playing and coaching and so on.
Yeah.
But just for those that don't know that much about you, um,
Yeah.
yeah, can you tell them a little bit about how your um, relationship with tennis started?
Yes, well, if welcome everybody, and if you're listening out there, my name is Samuel Jalloh, and I'm from Sierra Leone, as you can see with my green, white, and blue. Yes, my tennis journey was quite a dramatic one, to say the least, because Sierra Leone obviously is not known to be a nation for tennis. We're probably known more for the civil war that took place in the 90s to early 2000, which lasted for 11 years. So, yeah, but tennis was really tough growing back home in Sierra Leone. But fortunately enough for me, I have some up and down, but I managed to pull through hard working and self-determination, which I think is one of the key. And then I managed to get into the Sierra Leone national team, which we'll talk in details about those in a minute. But yeah, so since 1998, I did qualify to be part of the ITF junior team and played till the year 2000 when I was 18, and then started Futures and then the All African Games. And then we formed the Davis Cup team. But unfortunately, we didn't have the financial backing. So yeah, and I think after 2007, when I finished the All African Games, I decided to become a coach because, as you also know, tennis is not the cheapest sport to travel.
Sure.
And the All African Games alone, I think, cost me for 2 weeks over 5 grand.
Oh wow,
So,
that's a ton.
so,
Yeah.
so after that, I decided, well, it's about time to go coach rather than still continue to travel. So, yeah, so here I am today, ready to say it all.
How, because I think there are quite a lot of people, because I found it difficult myself to first believe it, and I think a lot of people will still be shocked. How do you
Yeah.
play tennis only with your hand and with no shoes whatsoever?
Yeah, that's quite easy. I still even tried when I go home today and working with my foundation. I think the difference is, which I'll put that to, like today you see all the kids have phone and they have television, they have all kinds of things in the house to play with. So we didn't have that. So the only thing we can do is be very creative. That means you create every game you create for yourself. Like we can create our own bats using a plywood, and then if we don't have a plywood, we play out to a beer hand, and which, in fact, the hand tennis was a national sport in Sierra Leone.
Is this?
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a national sport in Sierra Leone, and I was very good at that. And once I started playing hand tennis, and during school lunch hours, a lot of kids will come to my class window, stay over the window, waiting for me to finish so that they can put a bet on me. So I'll be playing hand tennis during lunch and winning. I never lose hand tennis because I was one of the best hand tennis player in the country.
So
So
you made a lot
that
of kids a lot of money then.
a lot of
A
money,
lot
even
of
though
money. I mean, yeah.
not a lot of money, but a lot of money to get me lunch and also sometimes get me transport to go the 7.5 mile back from school to my house. So it was one of those things. And even today, kids still play hand tennis, and I'm trying to revive the sport to make it a competitive sport again in the country as well.
I think someone's asking, and this was gonna be one of the other questions, if you have good hands on the court because of that. And I was wondering what skills you develop playing hand tennis that can help you then on the
Yeah.
tennis court.
You develop so many skills because I can hit a backhand with my bare hand and I can hit a forehand. And I'm sure I sent you a little video of me doing a slapping forehand past somebody who have a wooden plywood. So what that basically help you focus because you need only your hand, to focus, and the ball moves at so much speed, and the serve is like table tennis. So you're allowed to serve it as fast as possible and as low as possible.
Okay.
So there are many times when you try to return a serve, you bump and your nail will just pop off.
Ouch.
So we've had that. You try and keep them as short as possible. So you learn a very good your contact and also your concentration level, your coordination and your focus. Those are the things that you absolutely develop. And also you're talking about me not having the shoes to play. In Sierra Leone in March and April, the weather goes to close to 40 degree or 40 degree plus. So we played on an acrylic concrete court, which means from 12 o'clock to around 4 o'clock, the court almost is like barbecue. So, so when you have barefoot and you don't stay one place, so you keep moving your feet. Like here when we, yeah, when we tell the kids, so you got to keep on your feet, you got to keep moving. And but in Sierra Leone or in most countries in West Africa or Africa, when it's so hot, you don't stand one side if you don't have a shoes. And I think also it developed a very good mindset because even if I have a bleeding toe or one of my nails have come off, I will still not stop because pain was not a way for you to stop. Pain was more like something for you to keep going. And so that teach me a lot. And that's why today I'm even able to do so many things that I'm doing because I could have a broken finger, broken hand or wrist. I still do other things. So yeah, so those are the good lessons.
Looking back, let's say, would you change any of that from your childhood? You started tennis, anything? Would you change it?
I wouldn't change pretty much everything. I would have just wished I had rackets and probably some finance. In terms of the shoe thing, I don't think I would change those things because I think sometime in life you need to go through some adversity for you to be able to understand what it takes for you to make it and how you can appreciate life more. So those kind of things, I don't think I would change. What I would probably change is maybe the financial side because, you know, talent wasn't the problem. Hitting a tennis ball wasn't the problem. Playing a tennis match. I mean, when it comes to competition, we were so competitive to the point where sometimes we had a fight. We argue about a point, we will have a fight. And somebody will lose, especially me. I was a very bad loser, by the way. So if I lose, I don't want anyone talking to me. I get angry with my friends. So those sort of things I wouldn't change because I think sometimes when you have too much of one thing, you don't appreciate other things. But all I can say is life just need a balance. It doesn't need to be too much money or too poor. You just need to have that balance, and then you're able to pull through. That's the only thing I'll change. But my childhood, apart from the whooping I got from my family and others, everything else was fine.
Everything was fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. I mean, that has made you who you are today, and has probably made you a better coach for that as well. Has helped you in the parenting as well, right?
Yeah. And yeah, that has helped a lot.
Yeah. Going back a little bit to what you were saying about talent, because you had talent. I just wondered, because there's a theory that says you might not be born talented, and that it's a production of your environment in a way and circumstances. Do you think that's true, or what's your take on that?
It is, some of it is true because I think certain people are born with certain things. Let's take Federer, for example. You know, there's a lot of things that he does that I don't think any coaches ever tell him, just do this, just flick that ball over there. It's just pure instinct. And I think what it is because people have different genetics. We'll go back to Muhammad Ali, you go back to Usain Bolt, you go back to Federer or Andy Murray or, you know, Novak and all these kids. You go back, you look at video of them when they were 12, 13, you see that, you know, they have talent. Environment does help. I think environment help more to work on your mind. Because when you come from a very difficult situation, it's like, for example, when I wake up in the morning, I go to work 7.5 miles to school, no breakfast, no lunch. So it makes you become mentally tough. And then your parents, you know, they'll whip you if you make any mistake, and they'll ask you to go fetch water for 3 miles with 2 5-gallon rubber, which are quite heavy. So those conditions make you mentally tough. But in terms of talent, you can develop certain things, but I think genetically, some people really have a certain genetic that allow them to do any other sport or anything, whatever you teach them. Because you as a coach, you know this, you'll be teaching, let's say, 10 kids. There is one who always seems, no matter what you say, they can just speak it just like that, and then they can keep going. So all those kids need with the talent is the hunger and the willingness and the passion to turn those talents into something. And I think there's a lot of children who are so talented, but unfortunately, again, go back to the environment where they live. They don't have the urgency to work really hard or to try and keep pushing until they become whatever they aspire to be.
But do you think, for example, if you wouldn't have been naturally talented, let's say, that do you think the walking barefoot or for such a long distance or carrying buckets of water, do you think that would have not made a lot of difference if you wouldn't have?
It would, like I said, talent will only help. If I'm putting talent into mix everything, your talent, your work ethic, and your passion, I'll put all into 25%. So four things into 25%. So talent is only 25% of what you can develop into. But I think again, for me, I think it's more to do with the condition I was born into. If I was born in England, it doesn't matter, how much talent I have. If the conditioning is not there, I may not train. I may not even want to go to the tennis court to even try. But because of my condition, it gives me the opportunity for me to be able to carry, 2 buckets of water for 3 miles, or walk to school 7.5 miles. Sometimes not even walk. I run to school because if you're late, you get whipping. So all these psychological things make you want to work really hard. And I also think what pushes myself and a lot of my colleagues is the fact that when you wake up in the morning, you don't have a breakfast. Of course, those sort of conditions make you want to even work 10 times extra than any other person who comes from a house where they wake in the morning, there's breakfast on the table, there's, mom and dad has laced the shoes for them, and there's a socks, there's clean clothes. So I think condition is the other thing, but talent is 25% of your development. The rest, it has to be with your passion, your willingness, and all the other bit that comes with it.
And let's say the environment, I mean, you've talked about and said very well how the environment helps someone maybe, let's say, less fortunate financially speaking, right? How sports help those people overcome certain difficulties. But how does sport, how do you get someone that has a lot of things to still be motivated to do sports, to do that hard, to put in that hard work?
It all goes back to self-motivation and self-discipline and self-ambition. I was in the U.S. Last year with a player I traveled with from the U.S. And I remember we got to Atlanta and he said, oh, I've got a doubles partner, because most times I keep telling him, whenever you choose a doubles partner, I give him the freedom to choose his partner. That once you choose your partner, I want to know who this kid is so I can research on them, because I want him to really do well. Because so many times we choose a partner and then it didn't work out very well because the other kids are so don't want to try for so much and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, and he told me about this boy. And what was really amazing was this boy, his name is Ellie Short Jr. And his dad is a billionaire who was the owner of Sunderland Football Club.
Okay.
Early Short Senior. So, and they fly on a private plane as well when they go to some of the tournament. But I've never seen a kid that determined to play tennis. And I remember speaking to the coach, who is a coach actually from Chile. So he bought my book and we sat down and I'm saying, how do you even get these kids who have over $1 billion, he lived this life, and, and his dad turned up and things. And the dad said, he said, I never thought my kid would be this, ambition to become a tennis player. He wants to do something better than me. So that's why he has this ambition. So having money or having the opportunity or living in a better life, I think should also give you another motivation, because you don't have to worry about finance to go to tournament. Like in my case, I would train, I usually say I train 10 days a week because I train around the clock. It's like every day I would train. But the unfortunate thing is, as much talent as I had with some of my colleagues, we have very limited tournament to play because we didn't have the finance. But we still work really hard, to make sure that when those opportunities arise, we make good use of it. So I think it all comes down to determination and ambition, and kids just want something for themselves rather than determine on what their parents or whoever is helping them has already built up. So yeah, it comes to determination.
And what do you find yourself teaching your players more? Not
I
not
teach,
technically or tactically speaking, just
yeah, I teach my children more to be what I call independent athletes. So that's something I wrote about in my book, and I teach the kids how do you become an independent athlete and how do you learn about life, because life and tennis is the same. Tennis is a sport where you need to survive. You know, you go on court, the opponent is, saying words or effing and blinding over there. And also you have, the crowd against you. You got the court is very bad. You're in a very bad mood and you have to survive. I mean, you know yourself, you play tennis a lot. So it's a very, very much a surviving sport, and it's a very, very cruel sport in another way, because as a tennis player, you have to be like an high jumper, you have to be like a sprinter, you have to be like a marathon runner, you got to have the endurance, you got to be as smart as a chess player. And there's so many attributes that you need as a tennis player, which you need to keep your focus going and you need to keep your head going. So in this sort of sense that not just the tactical thing, I teach the kids how to survive and how to learn to do the things that they need to do to become a better player. If it means waking up 4 o'clock in the morning, don't complain about it, because you're doing it for a sport that you love. If it means that you have to go do another extra mile of running, do it. If it means you have to serve for another 1 hour just to be better than anyone, you got to do it. So for me, I teach them more about surviving in life rather than just hitting a tennis ball.
how do you as a coach cope with or manage the situation in which a player wakes up and just says, today I don't really feel like playing. I don't really feel that like doing that extra hour of serving. How do you deal with
Uh,
that?
the good thing about this is, of course, I have kids with, down attitude, but I think one of the things I'm very good at doing with the kid is, for me, because they understand where I came from
Mm-hmm.
and they understand my philosophy. And I always make sure that when I started with a kid, I sat down and talked to them and tell them everything that they need to do. I even give them statistics that whatever you are doing, there is other 50 million kids around the world trying to do the same. And they even do it 10 times better. So when we go on tennis court, tennis is like my whole life. I treat tennis like almost like a religion kind of thing. So I make sure that the kids understand that. So fortunately for me, I've never had kids that will come on court and tell me, because I tell them, once you step into the tennis court, all your wall problem, make sure you leave it outside when you come on the court. And I'm very honest with the kids as well. And I think that helps. And I'm also not just a tennis coach, I'm more like a mentor to most of the kids. And they can look at my story and go, well, if you come and play in barefoot tennis and bare hand tennis and working 15 miles a day to school and back with no lunch and breakfast, there's no point me even coming here and telling you I'm having a bad day. So I teach them about every day is a good, every day is a Christmas, and they need to keep moving and they need to work really hard.
Have you ever challenged one of them or made one of them play tennis with their hand or barefoot just to see?
Yes, I did. In fact, when we were in Chile last year, I was in Chile. That was part of our warm-up, and the kid that I traveled with from the US, that's one of our favorite game. Everywhere we go,
Okay.
we warmed up like 20 minutes, and he started challenging me now. But the only difference is I could slap the ball very hard, and he said that's a disadvantage for him, and he doesn't understand how can someone slap a tennis ball that hard. So I do challenge them, and also I do teach. There was a Chilean kid who played doubles with my player, and he said he's going to continuously play that and teach his friends, because he was actually really good, and he come from a very tough background as well. So he kind of remind me of myself, and so he wasn't complaining about the pain he was feeling in his hand, because usually the kid go, "Oh, coach,
Yeah.
hitting the ball is so painful." For me, it doesn't pain my hand because I'm used to it, but the
Yeah.
kids, they complain a lot. So yes, I do teach the kids and let them understand that, they have rackets, they have everything. This is what was our reality. Not, we weren't doing this because we just get bored with playing with rackets. We were doing this because we actually didn't have rackets. So
Yeah.
we have to create something.
How old were you when you got your first racket?
I was, I think, 9 years old when I first had a racket, but the racket we had, it wasn't just for me, it was for everyone. It was actually a Wilson wooden racket. So my first proper racket was, I was 11 years old. Somebody gave me a metal Prince racket. So, and that's, I can tell you, I think for the whole week, I was sleeping with the racket in my little cardboard corner where I used to sleep, and nobody would even touch that racket. I remember, I think the first week when I was going to school, I actually took my racket to school. Like, hey, why do you want to?
Did you
I don't
give
want
it
to lose
a
it.
tour and you didn't want to lose it?
I don't want to lose it. I don't want yeah, I don't want anybody to use my racket at that time. So somebody joyfully gave me a Prince metal racket, very big face, and a green one as well. So that was probably one of the best gifts I think I ever had. But I mean, prior to that, we only have wooden rackets. And the other thing as well, which I'll add into this, when we have rackets, is that we didn't have string because in Sierra Leone there is no tennis sport shop. So we only get string when people go abroad, like the rich people, and then they coming back, they will bring some few strings and give it to us. And then the ITF, obviously for poorer country, they provide this cheap nylon string, which was good enough. So what we do is we go down to the market and we buy the shark fishing line. So the shark fishing line is what we use to restring our racket with.
How painful
and when
was it to restring with?
uh,
How painful
yeah.
was it to restring with that?
It was very painful because I learned to actually restring my racket without a machine as well. So, and that's another thing. In fact, there is a video, somebody shot a video which I saw on Instagram. Somebody tagged me on it because I have actually did it whilst I was in Germany. And I work with a German lady who plays in the seniors for Germany. She played in the World Championship. And I remember they said, how is it possible you can restring a racket with your hand? So I said, I could show you. So it took me over a year for me to actually show them how to do it. And I sat down and I did it and they couldn't believe it. So when they saw somebody did the video of a boy in Africa doing it without a restringing machine, and they tagged me on the video. So it was really good. I mean, it was difficult as much as it is, but for us, because we didn't know any better, that was the best thing that could ever happen to us. So shark fishing line was the best thing we could ever have to play with.
And apart from that, you were playing tennis or learning how to play tennis while the war was happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does an 11-year-old understand?
Well, I was nine when the war started, and I didn't understand anything. I knew about Liberia because, and the reason why you know about the war is in Africa, it's not like here in England where if something has happened, they will show it on TV, but they will limit what they show. And in Africa, because we don't have this kind of thing about children too young to see this, if somebody's head is being blown off, they put it on TV for people to see. So, and we also have a lot of posters, which is a very common thing in West Africa. It's like you can buy religious posters, which have it's like 12 months of Jesus, of Mary, of all this kind of thing. And then you have sports, football, and then you have war posters, which is full of all these images with children with guns and people being hanged and being shot. So, you know, these things are not illegal. They're legal to, you know, they allow for people to make this thing and sell it. So that's all I could see as a 9-year-old from Liberia. You know, how, you know, Chastello become the rebel leader, and then when they execute the former president who was Sam Jalloh, and I could remember that as a 9 years. But when the war actually started in Sierra Leone, I couldn't understand it. And until I was really 11 years old when some of my uncles were in the army, and then the war started hitting towards the main city, then that's when I fully get the effects of the war. And again, some of the things that I saw, I would never wish in my entire life for anyone to go through that or see those kind of disruption.
And what did tennis mean for you at the time?
Tennis means a lot, and that's why my book title, How Tennis Saved My Life. And you know, the first title was actually How Sports Saved My Life, because I did so many other sports. I'm a black belt in, you know, in Taekwondo, and I do a lot of roller skating, which was part of a national, you know, school thing as well. And I play every racket sport that is possible there. So I was doing so many of those things, but the kid I traveled with, the mom said, instead of sports saved my life, just switch into tennis because people know you more for tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also the reason for that is, you know, and one of the things I explain in my book, when I was captured 7 days before I first went to play for Sierra Leone, and I got saved by one of the soldiers who became a friend who was doing tennis and martial art with me
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. By then I was 16. So, and this day when we were captured is because of the military head who passed away, and he saw 12 young boys, and he think those guys, they have so much muscle, you go arrest them because they look like rebels.
Oh, okay.
So we were taken into the military guard room, and this guy, Julius, who remember me, and had to take me off the group, and then he asked me to run. And I never saw him again, so Julius got me away, and then my colleagues spent 21 days in the military prison, which today when we talk about it, we had a laugh, but it was brutal what they have to go through, starvation, hunger, and goodness me. Yeah, so that's why, because of tennis, so this is why I say how tennis saved my life, because also so many other incidents that happened, and if it wasn't for tennis, I probably would not be here talking to you today. So, you know, because I remember, I think, was it last year or year before we met in, it was last year, I think we met in London, we had a hit.
Yeah.
And so again, it's all to do with tennis. And for me to be able to travel to more than 90 countries today, it's all to do with tennis. So that's why, you know, for me, I see tennis in a very big way than many people. I take tennis very, very seriously.
How did you manage to stay positive, let's say, after going through all of that?
Well,
You know, people find different reasons to complain about.
yeah, everything in life comes in two. So we got two hands, you got left, and then you got right. You got two eyes and two nose, two lips, one down, one at the top, two ears. Your brain is divided into two. You got two legs. So each fingers in your hands, it comes in twos. So you know, and the thing with what I learned as I grew older or as I was growing up is that first of all is when something bad happened to you, you learn some good lesson. Even though it's a very bad situation, you learn so many good. Novak would have never been Novak if he hasn't lost so many times. When he was 4 years old, number three, it was painful. He wanted to quit, but he decided, okay, I'm going to sharpen up and change things. So out of all those bad things, so my choice is what I'm trying to say is, it's either you choose to be negative or positive. So like I said, everything comes in two. So I decided if you stay negative, you hold grudge against people, you're never going to move forward because everything you fail and you don't do, you're going to blame people. And also in this life, there's two things that happen, or three things. You're born, you live, and then you die. So I was born, that's gone already. So I've been born. And either I live or I don't, I just keep blaming people. So I choose to live and move forward and then just say the past make me who I am. And the past has given me a story which I'm here today to tell this story. And some of my colleagues weren't so fortunate, like my best friend Alimami, who was killed in front of me. So the only thing I can do is try to enjoy the life that I have left by being positive rather than, you know, going back and start blaming people for what happened. And that's why I have my foundation to go back and teach the children that, look, don't ever think of going back and take a gun and go shoot somebody, because it makes Sierra Leone go from where it was to right down here, and up to today we're struggling to pick up to get back to normality. So it's a choice of being positive or negative.
How long did it take you to come to that conclusion that you have to be positive?
I think it was pretty much when I was 16, turning 17, I was in Ghana. I finished my first ITF tour in Ghana, Nigeria, and Togo, and we couldn't go home. So we went to play international tournaments, and then we become a refugee in Ghana. So that's how I met with my Ghanaian coach, who was a Davis Cup captain for Ghana. He was my military commander. He has a master degree in psychology. He has a master degree in philosophy. He has so many master degrees. This guy loved to study. And I was very bad-tempered in a way, in some ways, and I was very impatient because I've left Sierra Leone and I wanted to do so well. And every time when I lose a match or anything, I just have no patience. And he used to say to me, you know, you need to calm down a little bit. You need to change this mentality. Everything takes time to grow. So when I wrote my book, I wrote a tennis book called The World of Tennis Madness, and I wrote something. The beginning, I started with every coach must have a philosophy. So I used the tree philosophy. So the tree, we see it like a tree, but the tree does so many things for humanity that we don't see it that way. But it doesn't take a day to grow a tree and bear fruit and get everything that you want. It takes time, caring, watering, make sure that the insect don't kill the trees. So I use that philosophy that my coach taught me and said, you have to be like the tree. When you plant a seed today, it takes some time to grow, and sometimes the tree will hit the storm, the sun, the rain, the whatever, but you must stand strong and keep going and be patient. So I learned that, I think, more when I was 16, 17 years, and learned that things doesn't just come that easy. You got to work hard. You also got to be patient, and you got to learn to wait for the right timing, but keep working.
That's I mean, that's a very good philosophy, and it's a very good one to share with young players, let's say, and not only, but
Yeah.
it's a very mature conversation. When
Yeah.
do you talk about this with your players? How early can you start talking about it?
I do it as early as possible, as long as they can understand. Everything is like in tennis. People say, how early should you start playing tennis? Well, we got mini tots, we got mini tennis today, so they break everything down. It's the same thing, grown up do, but also they break it down into smaller pieces so that it can suit the kids for their age, ability, and their strength. So everything that you can teach the grown up, not in that intensity in that way, but you can also break it down and teach to the kids. And one of the things that I always do, I wrote this in my new book, I'm giving everything away, but I love to talk about this thing, is I did an experiment with every players. I always tell them, go home, get me a seed. It doesn't matter, it can be a pepper, onion, whatever, you plant them. And get a notebook, the day you got the seeds, how you got the dirt and the pot and whatever you did to it. And in a few months' time, I want you to bring me the fruit. Well, I can tell you, I've been doing this experiment for months, for years, I mean. I still haven't got any fruit yet.
Really?
Or anything, or any vegetable from any of my players who have tried the experiment. Now, the reason for this is because sometimes you see the kids, they lose so much patience. And one of I won't call the name of the player because they will kill me. And the player did the plant, and the plant went really bad. And I said, what happened? He said, oh, I'm not a very good farmer. I can tell you, it was the wind. It was, so you notice they start making excuses. It was the wind, it was this. So I say, it's the same in tennis. When you lose, oh, it was the racket, it was my shoes, it was this. So I teach them at that young age that it doesn't matter if you plan something, it doesn't work. You need to pay attention to see what happened. And then you go again and try it over again. And sometimes when I ask them to do it again, they don't want to because they lose players. If you have this mentality, you can never be a very good tennis player because tennis is the same like a tree. You're going to have so many backlashes. But if you can be patient and do it over and over and be stubborn and be determined, then you can make it, you can go forward and you can do things and nothing will stop you from becoming what you want to become. So
like that. That's
from a very young age, I always, yeah?
That's a very good way of teaching them. I might steal your
Yeah,
your
yeah, I do. I do. Some of them, yeah, it's such a good fun as well because every 2 weeks they have to give me a report what's happening, and I love the report. And it's the same I teach them with their tennis when they go to play. I have a form which I send to them. It's called a pre and post interview. So it's like a 10, 15 question on the pre-interview. Is your bag ready? Is your tennis racket ready? Shoes ready? Your mind ready? Do you have a tactics to play? And then they rate themselves before the match. And then once they finish, it's the same question turned upside down. Did I play well? Did my racket disturb me? Did the crowd put me off? And this kind of little things. So the answer to it, so if I'm not there, they send it to me and then I'll look at it and go, why did you give yourself here 4 out of 10? And say, oh, my mindset, oh, coach, I was in my head today, my grammar was not well. I go, you got to put grammar aside when you go on the tennis court. And otherwise, so you start teaching them slowly in a fun way how even if grammar is sick, the best way you can cure grammar is win. So when you come back, say, grammar, I win for you. And all of a sudden, grandma say, "Oh yeah, I feel good now. In fact, my sickness is gone." So,
How are kids different nowadays? Let's say from how you were at 9 or 11 or 18.
a better life, more technology. The kids, they got so much today. I think that's the difference is when I was coming up. And again, it goes back to environment. Maybe if I was born in England at this day, I would be the same like the kids here because they know better. And the kids who are born in Sierra Leone, as I'm talking to you now, who are 6, 7 years old, whenever I go home, even though, yes, the kids, they have mobile phone, they have same technology.
Okay.
They may not have it as easy as here as the kids. The parent can just go and get a contact, an iPhone 11, 50, whatever is out there now. And also we were disciplined. Everything was physical for us. We work hard and we create things for ourselves. And we were more, like I said, independent kids who can able to create our own thing. And today the kids, because of all this distraction, because of all the technology that they have, is that they probably don't want to go outside and train like we used to. I will go on the
In
wall
the
and hit
wind, in
for,
the rain, in the cold.
yeah, in the cold. And, you come home, you have bruise, you have this, but that's how you learn to be strong. And some of it, I can't blame them sometime when they're kids, because I can give you a few examples when I work with children. And I remember this was actually an ITF player, and I'm working with the player doing some mental training. And the mom said, "I don't know what to do. She can't get off the phone at night. She doesn't go to sleep." So I sat the mom and I gave her a good education. I said, you have a car, right? She said, yeah. I said, who pay for the car? So she pay for the car. You pay for the road tax. You pay for the insurance. You pay for everything. It's your car. It's in your name. It's your right. You got a license. I said, but the problem is, when you go on the road, the police say 30 miles an hour and you do 40 miles. When they caught you, you have a fine. You might lose your license. You might go to awareness calls, or you might even go to court. So you buy the mobile phone for your kids, but you don't give them any rules and regulations of what will happen if they go cross this line. I have 2 daughters. You can ask them this. I don't fight with them. I have a boxing glove and I have a small corner as a ring. If you want to fight me and be the king or the queen in the house, you put on the glove, we have 3 rounds. If you beat me,
Oh, okay.
I listen to you. If I beat you, you keep listening to it. Anyway, this is a joke. But in other ways, they understand that when I say get off the phone, it's get off the phone. When I say today is only 1 hour on the phone, that's about it. There's no argument. There's no if, buts, what. So that's my responsibility. So again, it goes to the parents. If you give them, we are so lucky today to have this technology. Like when I was in Sierra Leone, for example, I remember reading a tennis magazine. This magazine was like a year and a half old before we actually got it. But today, as the thing is happening, you can see it on your own mobile phone, wherever you are on this planet. So it's a good thing to have this, but also too much of the same thing is good for nothing. So kids need to be able to understand, the parent, not the kid. The parent needs to understand that I will give you the phone, I'll give you the technology, but here is your homework time. Here is time to put the phone away. And if you don't do it, you lose the phone. My kids, they know it. And if they break, we got red, yellow, green light system in my house. Once you get to red lights, the phone is gone for good.
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
how
That's
many
the way it
strikes
is.
for every light? One
Huh?
strike, one strike for every light, every
Oh
color.
yeah, yeah. That's about
Huh?
it. They better stay. They need to stay very much. They need to stay in the green zone. And sometime in the yellow zone, I can let them off. But for example, if they do things they're not supposed to do on their phone, and I find out they're doing it, because that's dishonesty, you lose your phone for good. When I say lose, I think the other problem we have as parents, again, this is a lot of things I wrote in the world of tennis madness, is that parents discipline their child and said, okay, now give me the phone. And then 2 minutes later, they give it back to the kid. So the kids, in their mind, whenever the parent you don't have to hit the kid. You don't have to shout at them. It's like the police. When they caught you, they don't shout at you. They don't slap you. They just tell you, okay, you've been turn your engine off. You've been running. Look, you've gone through the speed limits. I'm going to issue you a ticket. There's no argument about it. So me and my kids is the same. I did this since they were little, that I could do everything for them. I could swim from here to Africa. I'm not a big swimmer, to save them, to do whatever they want, to give them what they need, not what they want. And I could do everything for them as long as they don't just sat there and try to control, let the phone or anything control them. So it's not the kids' fault in so many ways. It's we, the parent, that need to take the responsibility to make sure we become the good police officers.
Well said. And how do you manage your relationship with your daughters from a coaching and parenting perspective? How do you, balance both?
Very good. I think one of the reasons my kids, they don't argue with me in this, because first of all, every month or two, we sit down, I talk to them and ask them, what they like, what they don't like. I talk to them like I'm teaching anyone. And if I cross the line with them, which that's 1 in a million chance I'll cross the line with my kids, because I love them so much and I wouldn't do anything to upset my kids. But also we'll sit down and talk about things that they understand that I'm a coach. I know what I'm doing, and it's not the easiest thing for you to teach your own children, because,
it might be a difficult thing to do.
It's a difficult thing, but there is a way to do it. And we, one of the things I was reading, like people say, one of my daughters, I never like to talk. That's why I don't post anything about my daughter into social media, because she's too young. I mean, she's 15 now, but I still think she's too young. And because being a 15 years, being one of the best junior sprinters in the country doesn't mean anything. You know that in tennis, you can be ITF junior world #1. Doesn't mean you're going to make it into the professional. The transition can be even more difficult if you don't put your mind together. So I make sure that I tell them, look, my job is not to tell you what to do. My job is not to force you to do the things that you don't want to do. My job is to advise you and tell you, say, Dad, I want to be a sprinter because my daughter does sprinting and she wants to go to the Olympics. She wants to run for Great Britain. My job is to tell you how difficult it is to become a sprinter, but also how lucky you are to born in a country like England, which has all the facility, the coaching and whatever, they got the money. But also she's very talented, which I say, you are talented, but the reality is there's a million kids out there who want to do the same. So you tell me what you want to do and I will help you to get there. So I think when you do things like this, there's something I call the push and force support. So if everybody needs some push, even you, me, there's some time where you just need somebody to push you. But nobody wants to go to work when somebody is forcing you to go do something that you don't want to do. So push support, I will always say, push your kids, pushing them in, giving them the opportunity and let them go with it. Don't really force them because of your self-ambition, because that's where the relationship. So my kids are very disciplined and respectful to me. And my daughter, in most of the kids I've trained for the past 6, 7 years, she is probably the best student I have, because she doesn't argue, she wants to do more. She's very respectful, she answers, but that's coming from our discipline to make sure they understand this. So again, go back to the parents.
But how do you, because we see a lot of we don't see a lot of good examples in the sense of a parent that has been a professional athlete, let's say, teaching their child or their children, and those children to actually get to top level. There are very few cases, I think.
Yeah, there are very few. There are very few cases, because I think the people who make it really to the top level, and I know David Hayes, the boxer, his son is playing tennis, that I know, and I think he's a very decent tennis player. But from what I can gather from them, he is encouraging him rather than saying. But I think the relax there is he has been a boxer, he's made so much money, so there's no worry about finance and other thing. But the child have their own ambition.
Where does it go wrong, though? Where does it go wrong?
It goes wrong, I think, when parents' ambition take over. That's where I think it starts going wrong. When because Sharapova and most tennis players were actually coached by their parents, and then when they get to certain age and then it gets too much, then what happened is the child goes, okay, I'm old enough now, I can make this decision, that we've got some money, you go sit down, I can do this myself now. So I think it goes wrong because, like I said, I can give you a few examples. I was in Dubrovnik for the Dub Bowl, which is one of the best junior tournaments around in Europe. And I remember my player just finished. I was walking down, and this kid was playing such a beautiful tennis. They're playing in the quarterfinal. And the mom was on the phone. I think she was with the dad of the boy or the coach. I don't know who she was. She was speaking in one of the Eastern European languages. And I can tell she was angry. So I stood next to her and I'm watching the child was playing. But every word that come out of this woman sounds like something negative. And this poor child, I could see mentally he was struggling. And so I'm watching this child and, you know, and then in the end, to cut this long story short, her child won the match against the #1 seed.
Oh.
And then she stood there and I said, are you okay? And then she go, yes, because he's lost. I said, no, he hasn't lost. He's actually won the match. And she said, he won? So all along, instead of supporting the child, she's just busy on the sideline, just sending. And in the end, what I saw from the boys, I actually add this into my book. I saw the boy look at the mom in a way that, okay, I've won now. If that makes you happy, I've won. But these kind of things, when the kid gets to a certain age, that's why you don't see them anymore. Because the parents' ambitions and the emotions get underway. I had the same problem. I mean, I was traveling with a player. I stopped traveling with this player, one of the most talented people I've ever worked with, just because of the parents. Okay. Because their ambitions go here and the kid is here. They forget that the kid is like a tree. They need to grow slowly until when they become professional, then they can see the fruit. But the parent, they plant the seed today, they want to see the fruit tomorrow in a very short period of time. So the kids need to grow slowly and slowly. So I think that's where things are going wrong. There's so many examples. I mean, when people read one day the book, The World of Tennis Madness, I'm going to be having an attack with some parents because I'm telling it.
They're going to know then why you stopped working with those players.
With certain kids, yeah. It's definitely is the parent. It goes wrong when the parents' ambitions become the whole ultimate thing, like I said. I can give you a classic example. I did the same mistake. You know, my twin daughters, one of them is so talented in tennis. And when they were younger, on the 8th red, you know, they were county champion. I was so hyped up and said, wow, it's a good thing. I got 2 daughters who are playing tennis. They're so good and they love it and blah, blah. And then I start pushing them to the, I forget that, you know, the kids' mentality here is not the same like, you know, me coming from Sierra Leone. So I push and push. And then when she was 10 years old, one day I think we're going to the tennis court and she was in, I'm in the cam, I'm waiting for her. I'm thinking, what's she doing in? And then I went in and then the mom came and said, you know, she hates to play tennis. I go, huh? She hates to play tennis? And I said, why? I said, because she doesn't want to play tennis with you because you said that is always pushing me too hard. I don't want to do this and blah, blah. So I find out that my own ambition that I have a daughter who's talented, well, this is a way for me to push her. Not that I want her to be probably like me, but I just want her to be better so that she can have something to do. Not because I want to say, oh, yes, that's my daughter play tennis. I don't have this kind of ambition. I saw she have the potential and I was doing more, probably pretty much like a force push rather than a support push. So anyway, so she stopped playing tennis. But the twin sister, she is doing athletics and I didn't do the same. So that's why now I told her, I can support you, whatever you want to do, I can tell you how difficult it is. And that's why she is a more better athlete. And I actually remember she was doing the nationals in Sheffield. And she come past the corner and she won the race. And the whole stadium is going crazy. There's a lot of people in the indoors, like thousands of people there, parents and coaches and what have you. And I always sit like this, silence, not a single word, not even moving. And she finished, she came up and said, Dad, how come you're not even clapping or shouting for me? I said, you shouldn't be looking at me, you should be running. But my thing to her, I said, is you're doing this for yourself. I'm here to observe and then see what the problem is and go help you. So unfortunately, I wish I had this same mentality with my daughters that play tennis. She would have been a really good tennis player. So that's why I'm saying parents, we're actually causing more damage for our children because of our own ambition than actually helping them. And one last thing is sometimes also as parents, I've seen this happen a lot where they say, you know, like, Dave, you're not even playing well, you're not serious, and it's costing us thousands of pounds every month to let
Yeah.
you play tennis. Now, that's the number one no-no.
That's a lot of pressure for a child to handle.
Yeah. So this is where there's a problem between parents coaching their children, because sometimes they get so frustrated and they start throwing all these other expenses in between, and then the child gets frustrated. And when they get to 14, 15, 16, they can make a decision. They just don't want anything to do with tennis anymore.
Yeah, because I mean, they don't even know about what money means at that age,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what
yeah,
they just know their parents are struggling to find the money to fund them. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
difficult.
So yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say that I'm getting quite a few messages, let's say, and alerts, and I think it's about going into another lockdown. Um,
Yeah,
yay!
we are going. Yeah, I think we
So
are gonna go, but we just got
I
to
think
do it for our own safety. And I'm sure if anyone, we all go into lockdown, just be positive, go home, enjoy the
yeah,
time, because
I think we're having a national lockdown. So
yeah, yeah,
not great news, but just I mean I don't think anyone's happy with it. But
no.
is there anything positive that we could possibly take from this new lockdown and the previous ones? Because it looks like we've been through a continuous lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Since March to now, I've written 5 more of the books. So for me, the lockdown has not affected me. Financially, yes, it affects everyone, because obviously my job depending on coaching and
Yeah.
speaking. I do a lot of motivational speaking now. So when you don't have the crowd, you can't do this, and obviously you don't make money. But the positive things I take about it is finding something to do. So what you're missing, what you lack, you make for in another thing. Is like when I'll give you an example to a player, Schwartzman. He's a
Mm-hmm.
very small guy, but he's faster than pretty much all the other players. They move faster. So what you lack in height, you make for in other things. So what we lack in every day, because as human beings, we're very social people. So we like to be out there. We like to be socializing with other people. And now, all of a sudden, we have the lockdown. You got to stay home. You got to do this. But all I can say to people is this lockdown is pretty much like another holiday, which can help you to think about who you are, how you can appreciate things, and what you have to do. And so when life come back to some normality, you appreciate things more than we've ever done before. Plus, it's giving your body and mind some rest as well. I mean, it's a long holiday, let's be honest. In Africa, there are countries in Africa that have lockdown. My mom and my sisters actually went to lockdown when this started. That's why they're pretty much better, because they really tackle it
Mm-hmm.
before it can get really bad. And imagine them not having lights in the house or television, or they don't have enough food in the house. I mean, I'm supporting my family, of course,
Yeah.
but there are millions of other people who they only live day to day and have like $1 a day just to live. And then you have a lockdown. So they have to cope. So let's think about other people as well that goes through this kind of situation in the worst possible way. But at least, in the house, like my kids say, everybody got a TV, there's Netflix, there's everything. Wake in the
Phones.
morning, do some exercise, go do some work, watch some positive things, listen to positive music, and, whatever keep you going positive. So there's a lot of positive out of this. We may lose finance, but I think also we can sit down and enjoy the holiday at home.
Sure, sure. And we can still enjoy sports, even
Yeah,
though we won't be able to play tennis for a little while again. I think there are
yeah,
other types of sports that we can do, even if
yeah,
it's running.
yeah,
So like you said, tennis has saved your life, but sports in general, I think, does that
yeah,
for people. Even during
yeah,
these numerous lockdowns, I think that's one of the things that kept people going,
yeah, yeah.
being able
Yeah,
to.
I was doing a challenge every day where I think we were doing something like 1,000 sit-up a day. I was doing this with few people. I mean, they don't. Who can do 100? If you can do 50, if you can do. So I'll do like a half of it in the morning, and then before I go to bed, I'll do
Mhm.
another 500, and then I'll do between 200 and 500 push-up. I used to do 1,000 of those in the morning as my breakfast, but not anymore now. I'm getting too old to be sitting down there and doing all this push-ups. So definitely during the lockdown, I did a lot of exercise because when we came back, people say, "How come? Okay, you look more leaner, and you don't look like you're losing much." I said, "Because I'm training at home. It's
Mhm.
to do a push-up and to do a sit-up and some dips and this kind of thing and free squats and lunges.
Yeah.
You can just spend half an hour and just do that at home and enjoy
You
your
don't need
time.
much. You don't need much for
Yeah,
that.
you don't need too much. So
What could
so I
someone
think there's a lot of positive things out of it anyway. So yeah.
how could a player that is competing, let's say, so a player that's involved in performance more, how could that player stay fit, let's say during a lockdown like now? What could they do? And close to
So
tennis, like,
So one of the things you have to do is because tennis is a mental game than just a physical game. So I do this. I think I post some videos during the lockdown on my Instagram thing where I was going to the park because we allow
mhm.
an hour out, and I had my racket with me, and I was doing shadow swinging for 1 hour.
Mm.
So I'll practice my volleys, my footstep, and everything. It's not the same as hitting a tennis ball, but the way you got to look at it is one of the best. So when you can work on your technique, you can work on your swing, you can work on your volleys. Well, if you, I have a very high 12-foot plus ceiling, so I could do this in the room, so it's not a problem. If you have a low ceiling, you don't want to be hitting overhead. And so people can stay at home and still practice. And then also watch a lot of tennis matches. If you like Rafa, we got YouTube and all kinds of things today. You can watch pretty much every match you type Wimbledon final this year, that year. Watch a lot of tennis matches. And then if you have an hour to go out, do a little bit of running around to keep your endurance.
Mhm.
And if you're at home, do a lot of shadow swing. You can practice your volley. If you notice as well, look at Federer, the top players. When they miss a shot, you notice they will stand and go back and correct themselves.
Mhm.
They just do a shadow swing to remind themselves that next time this is what I have to do. So what you can get it into your mind, it can come out physically when you're there. So that's another thing I will encourage people to do. So spend half an hour a day, practice your shadow swing, practice your stance, and do so many things. And what we'll probably likely do is if the next lockdown happen again, which I do know it will, is maybe do some video where we can do like a 20-second, 30 seconds video and say, okay, today, this is what you do with your volleys, forehand and your backhand, and this is what you do with distance, and you can work on different things, and how do you progress from this to this, just to keep people going if you want to do that. So,
Mhm.
there's a lot people can do as well.
There are a lot of let's say club players that do watch a lot of videos on YouTube, especially on
Yeah,
technique,
yeah, yeah.
which it can be a good thing, but it can also
So,
be not such a good thing. So
yeah,
would you recommend those types of videos more, or just watching matches, and why?
I'll watch matches
Mm-hmm.
because match is the more realistic situation. And I think one of the thing obviously there is four aspects of tennis, which is the technical, tactical, physical, and mental side. But when you watch the matches, you see all those four. Sometimes you watch teaching video, for example, somebody say they're doing fun, there's so much explanation going on. By the time you get to actually see them hit the ball, you maybe continuously lose interest out of it. So the best thing I can do is I would like to watch one of my favorite match to watch. Well, there's a lot of them. There was Roger and Rafa, I think it was in 2008, Wimbledon final, if I can remember well. I remember. And then also 2012, Rafa and Novak at Australia, where they played for nearly 6 hours. So what I look for in the matches, I'm looking about the emotions, how they control the emotions, how the emotions swing from Novak being nice and calm to Novak getting wild, Rafa get calm, and then the rain and the stop, and so you learn. So I'm not, because my tennis, the way I play, that's the way I've always played. I don't want to play tennis like anyone. I just want to play tennis to what my ability is. And the bad thing, like you said about the kids watching YouTube, is the fact that they watch 10 players, they want to copy 10 different things. So that's what can be very, very bad. But if you watch the matches and then you see, then you start pinpoint like things like where is Rafa doing most of his first serve if he's playing against a right-hander? If he's playing against a left-hander, where does he put most of his first serve? When he is 40-30 up, where does he go? When he is 30-40 down, what does he do with his serve? If he had a second serve, what does he do with it? And where? So you can see this tactical thing, which can help you rather than just trying to figure out how to play like Rafa, or, you know, because every tennis player is different, the way we hit, the way, yeah.
True. And what's to come for you in 2021? Because it hasn't, I mean, it's, you know, it's a rough start still with the lockdown, another lockdown. But what would you like to do this year?
Well, I have a big plan ahead, which I have Motivate Africa 2021. So that I should actually start the tour in March, but given the fact that the new lockdown is coming up, so I don't know what's going to happen, but the whole of next year, I want to dedicate that to Africa. So basically, is to try and speak to over 3 million African kids, and it's going to be over 20 countries. And yeah, so it's, in Sierra Leone alone, with Sierra Leone, my country, we've lined up about 25 schools, which is schools that we go to, they have at least more than 2,000 kids. And then about 6 to 8 of the university and colleges. And there's also sports, you know, academies I'll be speaking. So it's going to be a lot of talking. Motivate Africa is to use my story and my way of getting it out of the situation, like we talk about early teenage pregnancy, drugs, gun, crime, violence, and how kids should use sports and education as the way forward and stay positive and this kind of thing, because they are the next future generation leaders. And corruption, which is one of the biggest thing we talk about, not just in Africa, but also all over the world, there is corruption, just that it's presented in different ways. To tell the kids that they should try and avoid, when they're growing up, internal and external corruption. Don't do anything to upset your country, your people. Try, if there's a 20 pounds for 10 people, make sure it goes to 10 people, and all this kind of stuff. So just to encourage them and give them that, you know, if they can think like this, Africa will be a much better place than it is today, and the whole world will be a better place as well. So for me, I'm looking forward to that. And I also have a challenge as well, which if thing goes well in June, I'm trying to challenge to walk from London to Liverpool to raise funds for this. Oh, wow. So you can join me. Anyone can join this. I've had.
What does that mean?
That's not difficult to walk from London to here. In Africa, we do this to go to the next village. We don't do it as a sport. That's. Well said. I know people say, well, you're not in Africa, but we're doing it to raise funds and awareness about, you know, what we'll be doing in Africa. But also, I have few people who already want to do it, and I even have my friend who's a former Liverpool legend, Alan Kennedy. I'm sure probably he will be, maybe he'll listen to this. And so he said he'll do part of it, and his girlfriend Diane as well. I saw Diane's name pops up before, and so we're going to try and do it if the COVID situation is you know, under control. Yeah.
Well, maybe more people will join you after watching this. And also, if it's okay to say, if they want to, if they're thinking about donating, they can get in touch with you.
Yeah.
Whether
they can get in touch. We have
equipment, maybe.
We have a GoFundMe page, which we set up not long ago. We're still far away from the target we put, but it's okay because times are tough and things are tough for everyone. I know that because I know Europe, England is one of the most giving when it comes to charity and things like that and helping others. So we have a lot to get on, but we just want to make sure that we all get out of this COVID situation. But in other words, again, no one should panic. You know, I mean, again, we say things like, you remember this, well, you won't remember, I won't remember because I wasn't born at that time, but I study and pay attention to things like the Second World War, the First World War, what those people have to go through. And even me in Sierra Leone, in 2007, we have what they call sanction and embargo, which means nobody goes out, nobody comes in, food doesn't come in, food doesn't go out in Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone only eats rice, which come from Asia. So 90% of our staple food come from outside. So when the country was locked for 9 months, we start eating things that you never thought people would ever eat. And people start eating all kinds of things because we run out of food. And and there's a bomb and bullets going on every day. So this, you can take the positive to say, well, like I said again, spend time with your family, friends. You know, you can watch as much, do things that you won't do when you have job. You know, we've been complaining so much.
Exactly. Then we
Oh
don't
my
have
God, I'm so
time.
tired. Yeah.
We
So
don't.
there's some good things. The financial side, I know we'll lose it, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every nation in Europe, in Africa, and everywhere will do their best to make sure that people get back to some normality. So let's enjoy the holiday.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
And just to finish up, I think we're
Yeah.
going to do a quick, some quick fire questions, if that's okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
If I don't have the answer, I will ring my friend.
Okay. Maybe someone will help with the answers in the comments.
Yeah.
Your number one strength as a player.
My speed.
Your number one strength as a tennis coach.
My motivational skill to motivate people.
Your favorite shot.
Myself.
Pick a doubles partner.
That would be Michael Bob Bryan.
Serving or receiving? Serving.
Serving. Oh yeah, all day.
Favorite tennis player.
Oh, somebody's gonna slap me on this. I will go for Andy Murray. I've always liked Andy Murray. In this modern day, I think he's been my number one. Not because I'm in England. I've had a lot of fights over this, but I have my reasons.
Nice. Summer or Christmas?
Being an African, I'll go for summer. I love Christmas as a family thing, but in my house, every day is a Christmas.
Nice. What's your biggest fear?
Human beings.
Really?
Yeah.
And
can I explain that? Because a lot of people have asked me when I do speak in, the kids say, "What's the thing that I'm not scared of animals, spiders, ghosts, whatever?" Because only human beings take a gun and shoot. Only human being can take a knife and stab. Only human being can, you know, discriminate another person. Only human being can throw a bomb. Only human being can destroy the planet. So the closest thing I will be afraid of is human being, because we are the destruction to our own self.
Your favorite film?
My favorite film? Oh, it gotta be Terminator. Ooh. I'll go for T2, Terminator 2.
Favorite book?
Wow, there's so many of them. I will go for again Rafael Nadal autobiography, the one he first did, because that's what actually dragged me into Mallorca.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I must have read it about 50 times before I went to Mallorca. Yeah.
Country you'd move to?
Say that again.
Country you would move to?
Oh, if I'll move to any country, it will be somewhere in Africa. I think either Kenya or Ghana. It'll be one of those two.
And last one, Marmite or Brussels sprouts?
Marmite.
Marmite, okay. One of the very few people that have chosen Marmite.
Oh yes, because when I was a kid, they gave that to us so much. I love it.
Really?
Oh, I love Marmite, yeah. My kids don't, but I do.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well,
there's been a lot of other questions, but hopefully we're gonna be able to do this again soon.
Yeah,
definitely. When all the lockdowns are over.
Well, all the lockdowns, and like I said again, good luck to everyone, and enjoy the holiday at home. Stay positive, stay calm, enjoy yourself. Don't get too stressed about what's going to happen in the future. Just take it one day at a time, and don't feel too bad if you lock at home. At least you're at home, you got so many things you can distract yourself with. Awesome. You know, you can go out and do some walking as well. You walk with your family or go do some exercise. I'm sure we're still allowed to do exercise in the park somewhere.
Yeah.
or you can do it at home. So that's all I can say to people. But one way or the other, there's one saying in Africa, the longest rope in the jungle has an ending. So every struggle will come to an end.
Good say. Good say.
Yeah. So,
Well, thank you very
all
much
right.
for
Thank you so much.
with me. I
I've,
enjoyed it.
yeah,
And
I've enjoyed this one myself. So I hope everyone else does. If
thanks.
anyone has a question, they can send me a message, and that's not a problem. And I can answer to them. So thank you so much for
Thank,
inviting me.
thank
And
you.
hopefully I'll catch up with you very soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.